Welcome, everybody, to the Private Property Farming Podcast. I'm super excited today because we have a female farmer on the show. As always, whenever we have females onto the show, I get excited because you know what they say about this industry. It's male-dominated, and we don't get to see a lot of female, we don't get to see a lot of youth. But trust me, we are deep down in the trenches, working hard in our farms, and we are contributing towards the sector. So today we're going to learn a bit more about Devroll Scenery Farm, owned by Devroll Legodi to be exact. And we just want to know about what she's doing, her farming journey. She is farming niche crops, herbs to be specific, and is also, I believe, crop rotating with spinach. So we know that spinach is such a big commodity. It's a cash crop. It's also very much in demand. But yet again, suppliers still can't get enough, still can't find the right suppliers at the end of the day, or consistent suppliers. So I also want to know from Devroll, why is spinach such a lucrative crop from her end, and why she decided to farm it? You know, who is she selling her spinach to? Because a lot of farmers are producing spinach. Our topic for today is the future is green. The future is green. Herbs and fresh are the new niche crops to farm. So if you have any questions for Devroll, please feel free to comment and ask questions, and we will be happy to respond, because this is what we do. The podcast is for you, and we're here to educate, inspire, and inform you about the agricultural industry. So let's get right onto it and say hello to Devroll. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Mbali. I'm good, thanks. And how are you? And hi to all the viewers as well.
I'm doing fantastic. So word on the street is that you started your farm during COVID. What inspired you to go into the agriculture business, especially during that time?
So when I started agriculture, actually, my love actually came from fish, aquaculture. And so I had the opportunity to go to the ichthyologist by Midrand. And I was so excited because I wanted to see how the operations work. And so when I got there, I found that actually the operation has a lot to do with the whole production has to do with aquaculture, with the fish producing, the feces producing fertilizer for the herbs. And so the herbs would produce fresh water for the fish. And so for me, I was stuck in, and I was like, I'm really gonna go hardcore into this thing. And I was so amazed as to how the fish feces would produce fertilizer for the herbs. And so when I familiarized myself with all the farmers in Bronkhorstburg who are doing herbs, which I found in Cullinan, and I was so excited, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to start. And so when lockdown hit, I have a piece of land. I have 5 hectares to say. And I started out with spring onion, spinach, and parsleys. And from then on, I read all about agriculture. I read about doing everything the right way, the spraying programs, planting it accordingly to each and every single herb. And it was a ride of joy. From then on, I was stuck, and I was saying thank you to COVID. Even though the pandemic hit hard, but I was so excited to start anyways.
That's amazing. You know, one of the most common advices that we get from guests that come onto the show, especially when they need to, around empowering youth in agriculture, everybody says, just start. So I'm so happy to know that you're an individual who just started, right? We had no excuses and just went for it. So I suppose 2-3 years down the line, you're farming herbs. What type of herbs are you farming over and above the spinach? And I believe you also are farming spring onion. So what type of herbs are farming? What type of herbs are you farming? And what is the market looking like? You know, do you have a big demand from a market perspective? Who are you selling to? And are herbs profitable because they're very light in weight?
So this is the thing about herbs, right? Okay. You need to understand your market first. So when I started out with herbs, I started out with coriander and parsley and spring onion. And so when I did spring onion, it was a ride because everybody wanted spinach. But the problem was that when lockdown hit, I didn't have a market because all my herbs were going to restaurants and restaurants were closed down by that time. So I had to think quickly because you don't want it to overgrow and it becomes something else. So I started looking for agro processors that would process the parsleys and everything else. So they would take everything in bulk. And so I took, I think almost every, and also herbs are actually much more valuable than your ordinary you know, vegetables. So, a bundle can cost a good 7 rand, or a kg can cost 120 rand. Then a bundle of spinach will cost like 10 rand. So when I started taking my things to the niche market, which is the agro processors and obviously your small and the Pick and Pays and household during COVID time, it was difficult, but I made it through. That's when the whole rotation came through for me to start spinach, because everybody was eating spinach. Everybody wanted to eat healthy. Everybody was going vegan. And so I was like, okay, when lockdown will be done, I'll go back to my herbs, because the first love actually came from the herb. But I still do have herbs. I have parsley and coriander. What grows best is coriander during the cold, and parsley grows exceptionally well in the spring until the midsummer.
Fantastic. And are you still selling to your retail clients, or have you diversified now, especially around marketing your herbs?
Yes, I have diversified, definitely. So when restaurants are now open, I can't meet my demand actually, which is quite a problem. It's just quite a problem. Yeah. Everybody's working, but I do send out to Frontline Hyper. I do send out to food lovers. I do send out to our local here called Phrases, as well as our everyday house. I think there's a gentleman who takes I didn't even plant a lot of mint, but he takes mint every single week, and because he makes tea with the mint. So I'm also not my demand on mint as well, and I was just trying it out, and it's just there, but now it grows continuously. I think it's called yeah, I didn't do agriculture.
It's okay. I mean, you learn along the way, you know. I mean, geez, there's so much to learn in agri, you know, from production, mechanization, selling, marketing, price negotiation. So trust me, we've got you. But Devroll, I believe you recently won an award. Tell us about that award, and what has changed since you've become an award-winning farmer?
So when I first, so I think the motivation comes from our host Mbali, because we met, we didn't meet gradually. We met, you were hosting at the Farming in Hills event, the first one, and you spoke how you started out. Yeah. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, so if Mbali can make it, let me try and see how I'll start like in 2 minutes. And in my farming experience, and go really hard. So when I started doing 2 hectares of my herbs, and then when I gradually grew into, I did 1.5 hectares of spinach, and I didn't know that the demand was so much, and I didn't know that I'll be recognized by, the prison or McCain, or the local markets would want my produce all the time. And so when I got the opportunity, and when I went to the summit, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and learn and experience, it's gonna be award-winning people. I was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna see Mbali again. And unfortunately she was not there. And when they said startup farm of the year was Devroll, I was like, me? It can never be me. Yeah. What? And so I was really upset. I was really amazed. I was really excited, and it took me back to my humble beginning when I started out with herbs, just that small piece, and gradually growing. And it's really an honor, and I could never be so grateful and thankful. So yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations. And I'm super excited that you are going out there, attending conferences, trying to educate yourself just to become a successful farmer at the end of the day? Because we always encourage that, right? That is how people can learn around the industry, meet other farmers at events, you know, share knowledge, also hear farmers' experiences, because I think people think that from the outside looking in, farming is quite pretty. However, it's very difficult. There's so many elements that one needs to learn at a very short space in time and also manage, right? So that you have a successful crop at the end of the day. So kudos to you for putting yourself out there, you know, for engaging with other farmers in conferences and also taking the advice that farmers have been giving and obviously adopting it and trialing out by yourself. So tell me, what are some of the challenges that you experienced? I mean, 2-3 years down the line, you didn't study agri. What are the challenges that you experienced over and above COVID-19 with restaurants shutting down? Maybe talk about the actual production, you know. Did you have any severe pests and diseases, especially when you started farming herbs? Because we all know that herbs are delicate. Are you farming in open land? Do you have mechanization to cultivate or plow that land? Give us some production challenges that you have experienced over the 2-3 years that you've been operating and how you overcome those challenges.
Okay, so when I started out, obviously I had no idea when it comes to making a normal bed. I had no idea what is a raised bed from the onset.
Yeah.
So when I started out with herbs, I got the opportunity to actually work on, I think it was less of a hectare, I believe. And I don't know what I did wrong, but I presume that I was, because I was planting two cultivars of parsley, which is the curly moss and the Italian. So the Italian was doing so well in the summers, but my parsley moss was not doing so great. And the insects, I would find all different kinds. I didn't understand what, yes, last week I put in sappermatrin, and the other week I'm putting in another one called rose care, and then the other. So I'm putting too much into the parsleys. That the spraying program is a lot because I'm trying to save the whole parsley. So, and also it was at that current time there was a lot of rain, and you know there's a temperature that you cannot really control. And by that time I was on open land, strictly open land, and I'm using drip irrigation because it saves water and the whole theory. So I just decided I didn't even know the difference between irrigation, there's drip and sprinkler and mist. It was just a lot. So that also was a challenge because I didn't know whether it wanted me to sprinkle the water on top and not on the ground straight to the roots. And I didn't understand what would temperature do to my herbs. And once it rains constantly, it cannot really survive because now it has fungus. And you need to also research what fungus can I be able to use for a different herb. Then I went, and then I went to do, what do you call this? What do you call this? It's a different kind of a herb, rocket, sorry, it's a rocket. And when I did rocket, it was exceptionally well. And you don't understand, okay, so it might be one family, it can be herbs, one family, but then they all have different, you have to care of them, the different needs and what they need and how they grow. And also the soil was also, I think for me, it was a big advantage because I have really, really fertile soil. So I didn't really do much with the soil. And because my dad has 2 tractors and he has implements, so I would work according to, okay, before I do plant, I need to plow first, and then I used to disc, and then after disking I would make a raised bed, and then after that I would be able to see how soft it is for me to plant. So there was just a lot. It was a mess at the beginning, but my program of the insecticides I was really worried about because when you spray your chemicals, your sappermatrins, you have to wait 7 days a week before you can actually taste it, your herb, if it still tastes bitter or it's sweet. And so I told my family, especially my mom, that I'm not a scientist or any, but I need to create my own insecticide, which is organic in a way that if after a couple of a couple of minutes, I can still go back and taste it and see if it actually works. And so when I created my own insecticide, it was a big deal for me. And that is when McCain came through, when I let them know that this is what I did, because my scare is that what if I need to harvest and my client wants his 4 ton every week. I cannot really harvest for him because I've sprayed sapamethrin and it needs to go. So, and having those challenges. And then I think last year, I bought shade nets so that I can be able to protect the herbs and the spinach, especially for crop rotation. Also, when you're planting on soil, you need to do crop rotation. I didn't know that, because after the next year, I'll plant on the same ground with the same, and the insects will go, oh, so this is home. And I didn't know that now they're stealing in, they're just sitting and enjoying the ride, and it was just a big disadvantage. And then I understood the importance of crop rotation.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. You've definitely experienced a lot, right? And I'm so glad that you've picked up on the chemicals, the withholding periods, etc. So
Yes.
you are an invested farmer into your operations. Tell us, what does the future look like for Devroll? Are you looking to expand? I heard you say you're farming on 5 hectares. Are you fully utilizing that 5 hectares, or are you just producing right now in 2? So tell us about your expansion plans and what your farm looks like for the future.
So on the future, I'm not using the whole 5. There's a 2 hectares that I cannot really use because I'm not sure if it's going to work, because there's a lot of clay soil, and also it's really close to the river, and we can possibly get what we call frost every single day. Right now, there's frost every single time. So on that 2 hectares, I'm planning to do a vertical farm to expand my produce, and so that I can be able to grow more organic. And also, I am trying to work upon trying to get what do you call this? A land where I can secure for sunflower hectically. And so I really want to go into sunflower. That is one of the plans. I'm looking to lease I think 300, which I recently found, so that I can start production with sunflower. I'm trying to get Panaya to get the seed, and vertical farming on the 2 hectares and in sunflower, and go big.
Okay, great. Just to make sure that we heard you right, because you did break a little bit. So you're saying you're trying to obviously go vertical farming in the 2 hectares, but you have acquired a 300-hectare farm, which you're looking to farm sunflower. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time onto the show, Devroll. We thoroughly enjoyed your conversation and you teaching us about herbs, and just sharing your journey. And just from what you're saying, you've got huge room for growth, especially for your business as well. And I congratulate you for also seeking to diversify to other crops, just because, COVID has taught us so much, right? Not to be comfortable in a single crop, because when one industry fails, your whole business fails. So how are you able to pick up and innovate as a farmer and grow and expand as a farmer? But my advice to you would definitely say penetrate your market around herbs, create a brand name for your herbs before you go into sunflowers, and make sure that you've got such solid clients that are procuring from you through the winter and the summer production season. And once you start that sunflower operation, definitely be in touch with the marketers, because grain crops or field crops is very different to vegetables. And so the trading thereof is something that you also need to learn. And I hope that you will have proper advisors and mentors around your sunflower production. The last point that I'm going to say is that also just ensure that with the other 2 hectares towards the river, etc., speak to agronomists. You could definitely work the soil and maybe put in a crop that will do very well in that clay soil. So do your soil test, speak to an agronomist, someone that is very well recommended, and they would give you advice in terms of what to do, because obviously, in farming, you have to go big or go home at some point in stage. So obviously using the full potential of your land is definitely beneficial to your business. But thank you so much for your time. And I hope you don't become a stranger to the podcast.
Never. I'm invested now.
Thank you so much, Devroll. That was Devroll Legodi, and we were speaking about her farm based in Bronkhorstspruit, I think Cullinan to be exact, and she was telling us about her journey on farming niche crops. Specifically in this conversation, it was herbs, and she does a bit of coriander, rockets, spring onion as well, and mint. She's got a few clients who are buying every single week. She's selling to certain retailers, but also to restaurants, and she started this business in the midst of COVID, and her business was also affected during COVID because most of her clientele could not operate during the lockdown levels. If her story is not inspiring, then I don't know what will inspire you, because she's an epitome of a person, a young female person rather, who just went into the industry and went for it, started, learned through trials and errors, and was able to innovate and adapt through the challenges that we experience throughout the global pandemic. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share to as many people as possible, and continue to subscribe to the Farming Podcast, brought to you by Private Property. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.
So it's about like 500 to 1 ton. So it's like a bunch. Okay. Okay.